Now I would like to welcome Chip Gettinger, and Chip is the VP of Global Solution for RWS. Take it away, Chip.
Great, thank you. Well, good morning, everybody. I want to add my excitement to being back in person at a conference again after several years. And I had the privilege at RWS to work with our customers and partners on information and knowledge modeling for specific deliverables. And the use cases I'm going to talk today utilize structured content in order to enable some of these ideas and so forth. The exciting thing for me is that we've been doing this now for about 20 years. And over the last few years, we're seeing semantic AI come in and really focus in and provide specific solutions that our customers are working with. So, first thing I'd like to do is talk a bit about what's typical kind of content we see for our customers. It typically is document-based. It's not unusual for me to work with a customer or my team who has very large amounts of information. And these could be PDFs on a website or even worse. So when we start to look at intelligent content, we really look at modernizing content operations. And at the core of this is delivering really an improved customer and employee benefit. So that's always one of our core KPIs that we want to look at. And obviously, centralizing this information in a knowledge hub is very critical, and there's many great sessions around that this week. But what I want to focus on this morning is around utilizing structured content as components of content, along with smart taxonomy tagging that has relevancy to that particular topic or component of information that we have. Okay. So, how do organizations that we work with, go about activating intelligent content? The first thing we look for are this kind of long-form documents. Again, this is highly valued information within the organization, either operational or sales or other type of information. It tends to have long life cycles. It has frequent updates. So this could be procedural, policies, information, task, troubleshooting, help files, very repetitive type product or information domain specific. The next thing we look at is the ability to centralize this knowledge and have that ability to utilize, and I'm sorry, I'm going to make this a little bit bigger. There we go. The characteristics that we look at is the ability to single source that information. I'll have some examples in a minute that go into the information can have multiple channels that need to be supported. Probably the most innovative work that we've been doing the last few years is to introduce taxonomies. In structured content, it is semantically rich. However, it still can be relatively flat on potentially the uses for that bit of information once it's out in the field and in use. So finally, we look at establishing governance to improve on the quality. So what are the gains that organizations see with this approach? Probably the first area is to focus in on atomic components of information. Again, specifically, that can be a very unique task or procedure. The example I'm going to show in a minute gets into troubleshooting. And typically, this is domain knowledge that is within an organization that may or not be relative for or are readily available for the larger audience of people trying to solve problems and so forth. We also look at this being very semantically rich. So when we think about some of the benefits, we're looking at findability and insights. We're looking at providing knowledge as a service within our organizations. And One of the areas that I really love is the ability to dynamically deliver this information through things like headless CMSs and other applications, which is another presentation for another day. But instead of looking at very large documents and scrolling through large documents or trying to navigate, we're really focused on those components of information. And this really does help us build an intelligent knowledge hub of information. And again, this provides a level of self-service for customers and employees. Many of our customers are dealing with field engineers who have domain expertise of the product and integrations who are retiring. And so there's been, the last few years, a real push to get that information, that knowledge, into systems like this. In fact, one of our customers called their project One Right Answer, which is a great name for a project. So how do we do this? How do we go in and properly smart tag or auto tag content? So I've been talking about working with components. And again, this is kind of long-form documents that people are used to working with. So this is our particular interface. We call this Tridian Docs as our application. On the left-hand side, I actually see components of information that I'm authoring. And they can be, again, task, procedural, concepts. They can be more technical in nature. And what happens is we've developed, in partnership with Pool Party, the ability for an author to automatically smart tag from the taxonomy relevant tags for this bit of content, this particular component. And on the right-hand side, the author sees the suggested tags through the Semantic AI. And again, this is very domain-specific. The author can look at that and accept them, or they can actually change them in interaction. So what we have found is that this human in the loop provides feedback, but it also dramatically improves the quality and quantity of the smart tagging with the smart tagging capability for downstream search capabilities, which I'll show in a minute. The other benefit that we see is collaboration. So multiple experts can be authoring concurrently and also tagging this content and see that real time, what they're doing, because there could be several components related to the information that I'm actually writing and managing. So some great examples, and we've all seen these in the past, of one of our customers. In the old document-based approach, they used a structured content called DocBook. And what would happen is that customer would type in a question, and information was really presented in a form that was pretty much unusable unless you wanted to scroll through and read. So it had a very poor customer user experience. They also relied a lot on linking. And the more clicks that people had to have, the poorer the customer quality. When structured content as components was adopted, same relative information. However, because it's much more focused in specific components or topics, through Semantic AI, they were able to come up with suggested topics or titles. And these titles are relevant to whatever the customer or user is trying to determine how to solve a problem or answer a question. The other benefit of this is that subtopics can actually go in. So the idea is that a user would click on one of these and they'd be able to see their solution within a couple of clicks. Now, this gets really exciting when we start looking at a field engineering type of a solution. So same information, same content as a component base, the structured components, but in more advanced systems, we can actually troubleshoot and connect up with the system and detect potential solutions and make recommendations through a smart application. So the error code that is coming out of this system can actually be interpreted, and then applicable content components can actually be displayed that are relevant to solve that problem. The AI will actually track how long that field engineer needs to take to come up with a solution to fix that particular problem for solutions recommendation. The final thing that we've learned is that many of our customers assume English as a language for field engineers. And what we found is, especially in Asian countries, it's difficult to have English-speaking experts because they get hired away by other companies. So more and more we're seeing translation also included in this kind of a process and so forth. So some of the other benefits is with this component-based approach, I can still build traditional knowledge portals of information with facets, classifications, and so forth. So we can match the visitor's intent to the content that we need in more traditional types of deliveries and so forth. And the important thing is that we're building our taxonomy that's creating the concepts and the relationships behind the scenes through very advanced knowledge graphs and applications. One of the biggest problems that I've seen in this large amounts of structured content is how do I find relationships? How do I find those related concepts? Which is a really important part if a user is doing traditional search and discovery and so forth. So to start to summarize, what are some of the benefits that we see with smart tagging, working with these content components? Probably the biggest thing is accuracy and relevancy. Authors spend much less time trying to figure out the semantics or perhaps figuring out some of the tagging that's required for search engines and discovery. We also see much improved recommendations. And in a longer topic or discussion, I talk about how can recommendations help improve, for example, preventive maintenance. How can we prevent that error from happening and so forth, having information about the device and so forth. And finally, those relationships that I was talking about. The second thing is we can look at automating the tagging of that content. Authors find that and experts find that laborious, and sometimes they skip it or they say we'll do it later and so forth. So it provides the ability to have much less time for having to tag and more time for capturing expertise. So in summary, what we get is more specific information provides greater information relevance. So finally, if we start to look at some of the intelligent content benefits, is we really see achievement in goals with categorizations, facets, and recommendations. We also see the relevancy dramatically improve, as well as discovery through the semantic AI capabilities. Also, this automated smart tagging dramatically reduces the reliance on experts. And over time, we can actually capture more of that expertise by improving the quality of our taxonomies and other tools that are doing the automatic smart tagging. And finally, we can understand the intent of our customer or our employee and provide the relevant information for their particular solution. So at that point, I'd like to thank everybody. We're in booth 301 if you want to come by and find out more about Tridi and our product. And I really appreciate the time today. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you, Chair.